The arena was massive. Hana stood in the center and looked up. All around her, rising in circles that seemed to touch the stars themselves, sat 50,000 aliens. They filled every seat. Their bodies came in every shape she could imagine. Some had wings, some had tentacles, some glowed with strange lights, some looked like walking rocks. But right now they all had one thing in common. They were all staring at her with hatred. Hana kept her face calm. She wore her gray uniform, the one that marked her as a Terran diplomat. Her black hair was pulled back tight. Her hands stayed at her sides. She would not show fear. Not here, not now. The fate of every human being alive depended on what happened in the next few hours. The arena floated in space between dimensions. Through the clear dome above, she could see colors that had no names. This place existed outside normal reality. The Council built it that way on purpose. When they judged a species here, no one could interfere. No one could save you. High Arbiter Vexel stood from his throne. He was tall, maybe 9 feet. His skin was deep purple, and he had 3 eyes arranged in a triangle on his face. His species, the Krenth, had ruled a massive empire for thousands of years. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the entire arena. "Human," he said. The word sounded like an insult. "You stand before the Council of Eternal Voices. You represent the species called humanity. You are here because your people have been judged unworthy of existence," the crowd roared. It was not a cheer. It was something darker. Hana felt the sound hit her like a physical force. But she did not move. Vexal raised one hand. The noise stopped instantly. He continued. "Your species discovered faster than light travel 3 years ago. In that short time, you have proven yourselves to be dangerous, violent, and destructive. You have wars. You build weapons that can destroy planets. You poison your own world. You fight among yourselves constantly." He pulled up a hologram. Images appeared in the air above Hana's head. Images of human history, battlefields, nuclear explosions, polluted rivers, burning forests, the worst moments of humanity, displayed for everyone to see. "You have also begun colonizing space that does not belong to you," Vexal continued. 3 of your colonies are in territories claimed by other species. You ignore their protests. You take what you want. You act as if the galaxy belongs to you alone. More images appeared. Human ships, human colonies on distant moons, humans in spacesuits planting flags on worlds that already had owners. "Therefore," Vexal said, "the Council has decided. Humanity must be eliminated. For the safety of the galaxy, for the peace of all civilized species, your people will be removed from existence." The arena exploded with sound. 50,000 voices all shouting the same thing. "Kill the human! Kill the human! Kill the human!" The chant echoed and bounced off the walls. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. Hana waited. The chanting went on for a full minute. 2 minutes, 3. The aliens were enjoying this. They wanted her to break. They wanted her to cry, to beg, to scream. She did none of these things. Instead, when the noise reached its peak, she raised one hand, just lifted it calmly into the air. The effect was strange. A few aliens near the front noticed. They stopped shouting. Then more noticed. The silence spread like ripples in water. Within 30 seconds, the entire arena had gone quiet. 50,000 beings all staring at the small human in the center, wondering what she would do. Hana spoke. Her voice was not loud, but somehow everyone could hear it perfectly. The arena's sound system made sure of that. "Which ones?" she asked. Confusion rippled through the crowd. Vexal's 3 eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" "You said kill the human," Hana replied. "I'm asking which humans you mean." "There are 8 billion of us. Which 8 billion people are you planning to murder?" The arena stayed silent. Hana continued, her voice steady and clear. "Do you mean the farmers on Earth? The ones growing food to feed their families? Or maybe the children in schools learning mathematics and art? Or perhaps the elderly people in care homes who have maybe 10 years left to live anyway?" She turned slowly, making eye contact with different sections of the arena. "Maybe you mean the colonists on Mars. They're miners mostly. They dig up minerals. Very dangerous. Should they die for that? Or the scientists on Europa, studying the ice moons. They've never hurt anyone. Kill them too?" Vexal's skin darkened. "You know what we mean." "Your entire species, do I?" Hana asked. "Because genocide is a specific thing. It means killing specific people. So tell me, High Arbiter, which specific people deserve to die? Give me names. Give me faces." Point to the humans who are so dangerous that 8 billion others must die alongside them. She pulled a small device from her pocket. A hologram sprang up, replacing the images of war that Vexal had shown. This hologram showed faces. Thousands of them. Millions. They scrolled past, one after another. "This is Min," Hana said, pointing to one face. "She's 6 years old. She lives in Seoul. She wants to be a veterinarian. Should she die?" "This is Taeyang. He's 73. He's a retired teacher. 3 grandchildren. Should he die?" "This is Suki. She's a doctor. She saved 200 lives in the last year. Should she die?" The faces kept scrolling. Babies, teenagers, adults, elderly. Every kind of human that existed. "I have files on all 8 billion of us," Hana said. "Names, ages, occupations, families, dreams. Everything that makes us people instead of just numbers. If you're going to kill us all, the least you can do is know who you're killing." She looked up at Vexal. "Or maybe you just want to skip that part. Maybe it's easier to say kill the humans when you don't have to think about the fact that humans are people. Real people, with lives and families and hopes." The arena was completely silent now. The energy had changed. What had been bloodthirsty excitement was now something else. Something uncomfortable. Vexal spoke again, but his voice had less certainty. "This is not about individuals. This is about your species as a whole. Your pattern of behavior." "Ah," Hana said. "Patterns of behavior. That's interesting. Because if we're judging species by their patterns of behavior, then we should judge all the species here today by the same standard. Shouldn't we?" She smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "So let me ask you all a question," she said, raising her voice so every alien could hear. "How many of you come from species that have never had a war? Never conquered another people? Never done anything you're ashamed of?" No one answered. Hana nodded. "That's what I thought," she said. "Because if we're being honest, every species in this arena has blood on their hands. The only difference between you and us is time. You've had thousands of years to bury your crimes and rewrite your history books. We've had 3 years in space. Our crimes are still fresh, still visible, still impossible to deny." She turned in a slow circle, making sure everyone could see her face. "But here's what you all forgot," Hana said quietly. "When you point at someone and shout for their death, you'd better make sure your own hands are clean. Because otherwise, you're not making a moral judgment. You're just looking for an excuse to eliminate a competitor." The silence in the arena was now heavy, oppressive. Many of the aliens were looking at each other instead of at Hana. She had planted a seed of doubt, and it was already growing. Vexal slammed his staff against the floor. The boom echoed like thunder. "You will not deflect judgment by attacking this council." "I'm not attacking anyone," Hana said calmly. "I'm just asking questions. And if those questions make you uncomfortable, maybe you should think about why that is." She stood straight, hands at her sides, looking small and alone in the center of the massive arena, but she did not look weak. She looked like someone who had already won, and was just waiting for everyone else to realize it. "This trial isn't over," Hana said. "It's just beginning. And before it ends, every single one of you is going to have to decide something very important. Are you actually interested in justice? Or do you just want to feel superior to someone else?" She looked up at Vexal one more time. "Choose carefully," she said, "because I have a lot more questions. And I don't think you're going to like the answers." Vexal's 3 eyes burned with anger. His purple skin had turned almost black. But before he could speak, Hana pulled out another device. New holograms filled the air above the arena floor. "Let me tell you about the Krenth Empire," she said. Her voice was calm, like she was teaching a class. 4,000 years ago, your people developed faster-than-light travel. Very impressive. Within 500 years, you had contacted 73 different species. 73 inhabited worlds. The hologram showed a map. Planets marked in red. Dates appeared next to each one. The population of those 73 worlds before contact was 12 trillion beings. Hana continued. The current population of those worlds is 0. Not one single member of those species exists today. Where did they go, High Arbiter? The arena erupted in noise. Half the aliens were shouting at Vexal. The other half were shouting at Hana. But Hana just stood there, waiting. Vexal's voice boomed out. Those species were primitive. They were violent. They would have destroyed themselves anyway. That's an interesting defense, Hana said. Because that's exactly what you said about humans 5 minutes ago. primitive, violent. Better to eliminate us before we become a problem. Tell me, does that excuse work for everyone or just for you? She didn't wait for an answer. Instead, she turned to a different section of the arena, a section filled with tall crystalline beings that glowed with soft blue light. The Talgorian Federation, Hana said. You call yourselves peaceful traders. You pride yourselves on never firing a single shot in anger. Very admirable. Ambassador Beck, the leader of the Talgorians, stood up. His crystalline body caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns. We are peaceful. We have never conquered anyone. No, you just buy them, Hana said. The hologram changed, showing financial records. Your trade routes exclusively pass through territories belonging to species without faster-than-light travel. Species who suddenly need loans to upgrade their technology. Loans with very specific terms. She pulled up more data. On average, it takes 40 years before these species default on their loans. When they do, their homeworlds become Talgorian protectorates. Their governments are restructured. Their economies are controlled by Talgorian corporations. They remain in debt forever. Those arrangements are voluntary, Beck protested. They sign contracts. Of course they do, Hana said. Because the alternative is being left behind while every other species in the galaxy moves forward. You don't conquer with weapons. You conquer with debt. It's slower, quieter, but the result is the same. You own them. She looked around the arena. Economic colonialism is still colonialism. You just make your victims fill out paperwork first. The Talgorian section exploded with angry shouts, but Hana had already moved on. She pointed to another group of aliens. These looked like floating jellyfish made of light. The Zendari Enlightenment, Hana said. You achieved perfect peace 5,000 years ago. No crime. No violence, no war. Truly enlightened. The Zendari leader, a being named Rin, floated forward. Her light pulsed gently. We are proud of our peace. It is our greatest achievement. And how do you maintain this peace? Hana asked. The hologram changed again. This time it showed strange creatures. They looked like the Zendari, but darker, harder, more solid. These are the Zendari, Hana said. Notice the spelling. One less I at the end. They're genetically modified versions of your own species. You created them 3,000 years ago to be soldiers, warriors, protectors. They fight all your battles. They do all your violence. Rin's light dimmed slightly. They are willing servants. They are happy in their role, are they? Hana asked. Because according to your own laws, they aren't legally considered people. They can't vote. They can't own property. They can't refuse orders. You genetically programmed them to be loyal and then claimed they choose to serve you. That's not peace. That's slavery with extra steps. The arena was getting louder now, more chaotic. Delegations were shouting at each other. Ancient alliances were cracking. Hana kept going. She pointed to a group of insect-like beings. The Wehrmacht Collective. You achieved perfect unity through the joining. Every member of your species shares one consciousness. Beautiful harmony. The hologram showed historical records. The joining happened 2,000 years ago. Before that, you were individuals. 7 billion individuals with different thoughts, different dreams, different personalities. After the joining, you became one consciousness controlling 7 billion bodies. What happened to those 7 billion individual minds? The Wehrmacht delegate spoke with 1,000 voices at once. We became unified. We transcended individual limitation. You committed genocide against yourselves, Hana said flatly. 7 billion unique consciousnesses erased, deleted, merged into one. That's not transcendence. That's mass murder dressed up in philosophical language. For the next 30 minutes, Hana continued. She went through species after species. The Sorveth, who achieved environmental harmony by hunting every predator species on their planet to extinction. The Krell Unity, who maintained peace through mandatory brain implants that suppressed aggressive thoughts. The Moldari Republic, whose democracy only extended to the upper 3 genetic castes. Every revelation was met with protests, with denials, with angry justifications. But Hana had done her research. Every fact she presented was documented. Every accusation was backed by the aliens' own historical records. Finally, she returned to the center of the arena. The noise was deafening now. 50,000 aliens all shouting at once, but not at her anymore. At each other, Vexal slammed his staff down repeatedly. Silence! Silence! Gradually, the arena quieted. Vexal glared down at Hana. You think you are clever? You think you can escape judgment by pointing out flaws in others. But this trial is not about us. It is about humanity. Hana nodded. You're right. This trial is about humanity, but not in the way you think. She looked up at all 50,000 faces staring down at her. You asked me to defend my species, to explain why we deserve to exist. But I'm not going to do that, because the premise of your question is wrong. You don't want to judge whether humanity deserves to exist. You want to feel superior. You want someone to point at and say, look, they're worse than we are. Because if humans are the bad guys, then you must be the good guys. Right? She shook her head. But that's not how morality works. Good and evil aren't determined by comparison. They're determined by actions. And based on actions, every single species in this arena has committed atrocities, including mine. The difference is honesty, Hana continued. We don't hide our crimes. We don't pretend our wars were justified or our genocides were necessary. We remember them. We teach them in schools. We put up monuments to our victims. We say this happened. This was wrong. We will try to be better. She gestured at the arena. How many of you can say the same? How many of you teach your children about the species you eliminated? How many monuments do you have to the civilizations you destroyed? The silence was heavy, uncomfortable. Hana let it sit for a moment. Here's the truth, she said quietly. We're not worse than you. We're just younger. We're making the same mistakes you all made. The difference is we haven't had 4,000 years to bury the evidence and rewrite our history books. Our crimes are still fresh, still visible, still impossible to deny. She looked directly at Vexal. So yes, High Arbiter, judge us. But judge us by the same standards you judge yourselves. And if you find that we deserve elimination for our crimes, then be prepared to eliminate everyone else in this arena too, because we're all guilty of the same sins. The only difference, Hana said, is that we're honest about it. The arena erupted again, but this time it was different. The unified hatred had fractured into something more complex. Some aliens still wanted her dead, but others were looking at their own delegations with new eyes, asking new questions, wondering about their own histories. Hana stood in the center of it all, small and alone, but no longer weak. She had taken their unified front and shattered it. Now came the hard part, putting the pieces back together into something better. The chaos in the arena continued for almost an hour. Delegations argued with each other. Ancient alliances cracked. Old grievances surfaced. Vexel kept slamming his staff, but the noise wouldn't stop. Hana waited. She stood perfectly still in the center of the floor, watching everything. This was what she had wanted. Not the chaos exactly, but the breaking of the unified front. They couldn't kill her if they couldn't agree with each other. Finally, Ambassador Rin floated down from her seat. The glowing jellyfish-like being descended until she was level with Hana. Her presence seemed to calm the arena. Other aliens quieted, wanting to hear what she would say. Human, Rin said. Her voice was soft but carried throughout the space. You have made your point. Every species here has committed wrongs. But that does not answer the original question. Should humanity be allowed to exist? Hana looked at Rin. Of all the aliens present, Rin seemed the most honest, the most willing to actually think instead of just react. May I ask you a question, Ambassador? Rin's light pulsed. You may. How many times has the trial of species been held? Hana asked. The arena went quiet. Rin hesitated. I do not know the exact number. I do, Hana said. She pulled out her device again. New information appeared in the air. 23 times. The trial of species has been held 23 times in recorded history. 23 newly spacefaring civilizations brought to this arena to be judged. She paused. Would you like to know how many were found worthy? No one answered. The silence was total. 0, Hana said. Not one. 23 civilizations, all judged. All found wanting, all eliminated. The hologram showed a list. Names Hana couldn't pronounce. Dates going back thousands of years. Next to each name, a single word. Eliminated. Vexel's voice cut through the silence. Those species were dangerous. They threatened the stability of the galaxy. Did they? Hana asked. Or did they threaten your power? She expanded the hologram. More information appeared. The Korseth. Eliminated 4,000 years ago. Their crime? They had developed quantum computing that was more advanced than anything the Council possessed. Within 50 years of their elimination, the Krenth Empire mysteriously developed the same technology. The Velnar. Eliminated 3,000 years ago. They had natural faster-than-light perception. They could sense events happening light years away. 40 years after their elimination, the Talgorian Federation started selling FTL sensors based on remarkably similar principles. The Greshtok, eliminated 1,000 years ago. They had achieved true matter-to-energy conversion. Clean, efficient, unlimited power. 60 years later, that same technology appeared in Council research facilities. Hana looked around the arena. Every single eliminated species had developed something unique, something superior to what the Council had, and every single time that technology mysteriously appeared in Council hands within a few decades. Interesting coincidence, isn't it? You have no proof of wrongdoing, Vexal said. But his voice lacked conviction, don't I? Hana asked. She pulled up more files. I spent the last 6 months in your archives. You were very thorough in your record-keeping. Too thorough, actually. Research papers crediting recovered data from eliminated species. Financial transfers following each trial. Technology patents filed suspiciously soon after eliminations. She looked directly at Vexal. The trial of species isn't a moral judgment. It's preemptive elimination of competitors. You find promising young civilizations. You judge them unworthy. You eliminate them. And then you take their technology. The arena exploded. Half the aliens were shouting denials. The other half were shouting questions at their own leaders. The unified council was fracturing right before Hana's eyes. Rin floated closer to Hana. Her light had dimmed significantly. Is this true? She asked quietly. Check your own records, Hana said. It's all there. They didn't even hide it very well. They just assumed no one would bother looking. Rin turned to face Vexal. High Arbiter, I am 347 years old. I have served on this council for 173 of those years. I have participated in 3 trials. If what this human says is true, then I have been complicit in genocide. I need to know. Is it true? Vexal said nothing. His silence was answer enough. Rin's light flickered. For a moment, Hana thought the old alien might simply disappear, but instead Rin's voice rang out across the arena, stronger than before. Then we are not the enlightened beings we claim to be, Rin said. We are predators. We find young species. We judge them by standards we ourselves cannot meet. We eliminate them. And we profit from their deaths. She turned to face the entire assembly. I am ashamed. We should all be ashamed. Other voices joined hers. Not many at first, but gradually more and more aliens began speaking up. Young delegates who had never questioned the system before. Older ones who had always had doubts but stayed silent. The whispers grew into shouts. Vexal slammed his staff repeatedly.
Enough. The past is the past.
We are here to judge humanity. No, Hana said. Her voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard it. We're here because you want to eliminate a competitor, and I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. She pulled out one more device. This one glowed with a strange blue light. This is a quantum beacon. Before I left Earth, every single human colony, every ship, every station was given a choice. They were told the truth about this trial. They were told they might never see me again, and they were told what this beacon means. Vexal leaned forward. What does it mean? If this beacon is destroyed, which will happen when you kill me, it sends a signal. One simple message to every human in the galaxy. They're trying to kill us all. She held the beacon up so everyone could see it. And then humanity will do what we do best when someone tries to eliminate us. We'll scatter. We'll hide. We'll survive. You'll hunt us across the galaxy. You'll find some of us, but not all. Never all. And while you're hunting, we'll be adapting, learning, growing. We're very good at that. Give us a challenge and we'll find 12 different ways to overcome it. Give us an enemy and we'll learn everything about them. Give us a reason to survive and we'll do whatever it takes. Hana's voice dropped lower. In 1,000 years, maybe less, we'll be everywhere. In your colonies, your trade routes, your territories. You'll never know if the alien sitting next to you is actually human. We're very adaptable, very good at blending in when we need to. And we'll remember, she said. We always remember. The arena was silent. Every eye fixed on the small glowing device in Hana's hand. You're threatening us, Vexal said. No, Hana corrected. I'm explaining consequences. There's a difference. You've been eliminating potential competitors for thousands of years. You've gotten very good at it. But humans are different. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We don't accept extinction quietly. She looked around the arena one more time. So you have a choice. You can kill me. You can try to eliminate humanity, and you'll spend the next 1,000 years looking over your shoulders, wondering when we'll come back, when we'll be strong enough, when we'll remember what you did to us. Or, she said, you can make a different choice. You can let us live. You can work with us instead of against us. You can stop being predators and start being something better, Rin spoke. What are you proposing? Reform, Hana said simply. Real reform. The trial of species ends. Young civilizations get help instead of judgment. The council becomes what it claims to be. A force for cooperation, for growth, for actual peace, and if we refuse? Vexal asked. Hana smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then you'll find out exactly how dangerous humans can be when you give us no other choice. She held up the beacon. The blue light pulsed steadily. Choose carefully, because this decision will define the next 1,000 years of galactic history, either as an age of cooperation and growth, or as an age of endless hunting and hiding. Your choice. The arena fell into silence. 50,000 aliens all staring at one human holding one small device. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and for the first time in the history of the trial of species, the outcome was actually in doubt. The silence stretched. Hana stood in the center of the arena, the quantum beacon glowing in her hand. 50,000 aliens stared at her. None of them spoke. The weight of the decision pressed down on everyone. Finally, Vexal stood, his 3 eyes fixed on Hana. You speak of consequences, of choices, but you are still one human, one small being. What makes you think you have the power to threaten the entire council? I don't have power, Hana said. Humanity has potential. There's a difference. Power is what you have now. Fleets, weapons, control. Potential is what we have. The ability to become something you can't predict or control. She gestured with her free hand. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? It's not our technology. It's not our weapons. It's the fact that we've spent our entire history competing with each other. Every war, every conflict, every competition between human nations made us sharper, faster, more creative. Other species achieved unity and then stagnated, Hana continued. You stopped challenging yourselves. You stopped pushing boundaries. You became comfortable. We never had that luxury. We had to keep innovating just to survive each other. Ambassador Rin floated closer. You speak as if conflict is a strength. Most species see it as a weakness. It's both, Hana said. Conflict is destructive. It's wasteful. It causes suffering, but it also drives innovation. It forces adaptation. It makes us better at problem solving. Every human nation developed different technologies, different strategies, different ways of thinking. When we finally started working together, we combined all of that diversity into something greater than the sum of its parts. She looked around the arena. You see humans as chaotic, undisciplined, dangerous, you're right. But that chaos is also our strength. Give us a problem and we'll attack it from a dozen different angles simultaneously. One approach might fail, but another will succeed. That's how we work. That's how we've always worked. A delegate from a species Hana didn't recognize stood up. It looked like a walking tree with crystalline leaves. Your species has been in space for 3 years. 3 years. And you think you can challenge civilizations that have existed for thousands of years? No, Hana said. I don't think we can challenge you now. But in 50 years? 100? 500? We'll adapt. We'll learn. We'll grow. And we'll remember that you tried to kill us. That memory will drive everything we do. She held up the beacon again. This isn't a bluff. It's a prediction. If you eliminate humanity, you'll create an enemy scattered across the stars, an enemy that learns from every encounter, an enemy that never forgets, an enemy that will eventually be everywhere. Or, she said, lowering the beacon, you can choose cooperation. You can choose to help us grow in positive ways. You can choose to have humanity as an ally instead of an enemy. Your choice. Rin turned to face the council. I have heard enough. I wish to vote. Vexel's skin darkened. This is irregular. The trial is not complete. The trial is complete enough, Rin said. We have heard the accusations. We have heard the defense. More importantly, we have heard truths about ourselves that we needed to hear. I call for a vote on humanity's inclusion in the Council of Species. Other voices joined hers. Not many at first, but gradually more and more delegates called for a vote. Vexal looked around the arena. He could deny them, but that would only prove Hana's point about the council being corrupt. Very well, he said finally. We will vote. All in favor of humanity's elimination signal now. Lights appeared throughout the arena. Red lights, each one representing a vote for death. Hana watched them appear. One by one, dozens, hundreds, thousands. Her heart sank. There were so many. But then the red lights stopped appearing. Hana counted quickly in her head. Maybe 20,000. Less than half. Not enough to condemn humanity. All in favor of humanity's inclusion in the council, Vexel said. His voice was flat, emotionless. Blue lights appeared, fewer than the red ones at first. But they kept coming, more and more. Hana watched as the blue lights spread through the arena like stars appearing at dusk. When the voting ended, the count was close. Very close, but the blue lights outnumbered the red ones. Not by much, maybe 5,000 votes, but enough. Vexel stood silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. The council has voted. By a margin of 5,217 votes, humanity is accepted into the Council of Species. The arena erupted. Some aliens cheered. Some shouted in anger. Some simply left, unable to accept the decision. But it didn't matter. The vote was final. Hana felt her legs go weak. She had done it. Humanity would survive. But she didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. Because the hard part was just beginning. Rin floated down to Hana's level. You won. But barely. Many in the council still want you dead. You will have enemies now. I know, Hana said. But at least we'll have a chance. That's all I wanted. A chance to prove we can be better. Rin's light pulsed thoughtfully. You mentioned reform. You said the trial of species should end. That young civilizations should receive help instead of judgment. Did you mean that? Every word, Hana said. Then we have work to do, Rin said. Because winning the vote is only the first step. Now we need to change the system, and that will be much harder than what you did today. Hana nodded. I understand. But I'm ready. Are you? Rin glowed brighter. I am 347 years old. I have spent most of my life serving a system I believed was just. Today I learned that system was built on genocide. So yes, human. I am ready to tear it down and build something better. Over the next few days, other delegates approached Hana. Young ones mostly. Representatives from species who had never questioned the council before. They had been inspired by what she did in the arena. They had started asking questions about their own histories. And they didn't like the answers they found. Jay was one of them, a young Krenth officer, barely 200 years old. He brought classified military documents. These are research programs, he explained. Technologies my empire developed. Except we didn't develop them. We recovered them from eliminated species. I thought it was salvage. Now I know it was theft. Dohi came next. She was Talgorian, an economist with access to financial records. The pattern is clear once you look for it, she said. Large transfers of wealth following each trial. Technology patents filed within decades of eliminations. High people profited from genocide and called it trade. More came. Delegates from the Vermont Collective. From the Sorveth. From species Hana had never heard of. Each brought pieces of evidence. Documents, records, proof of the council's corruption. Hana organized everything. She created timelines, cross-referenced data, built cases. It took weeks, but eventually she had something unprecedented. A complete picture of the council's systematic exploitation spanning thousands of years. What now? Jay asked during one of their planning sessions. Now we force them to acknowledge it, Hana said. Not just a few delegates. The entire council. Every species represented here needs to know the truth. That will be dangerous, Dohi said. Many will see it as an attack. It is an attack, Hana said. On corruption. On hypocrisy. On a system that eliminates anyone who threatens its power. But it's also an opportunity, a chance to build something better. Rin joined their group. I have spoken with other senior council members. Some are willing to support reform, others will fight it. But all of them agree on one thing. If we're going to do this, we need to do it publicly. No secret meetings. No quiet compromises. Everything out in the open. Agreed, Hana said. We call for a full council hearing. We present all the evidence. We propose specific reforms, and we force them to vote on it. They might vote against us, Jay warned. They might, Hana agreed. But at least they'll know the truth. And truth has a way of changing things even when people try to ignore it. She looked at her small group of allies, a human, a Zendari, a Krenth, a Telgorian, representatives from species that had been enemies for thousands of years now working together. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Let's change the galaxy, Hana said. 3 weeks later, Hana stood in the arena again, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood 27 delegates from as many species. Above her, projected on massive screens, was every piece of evidence they had compiled. The council chamber was full again. 50,000 aliens all watching to see what the human would do next. Hana took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would determine whether the council could change or whether it would remain corrupt forever. Honored council, she began, I come before you today not to accuse but to heal. Not to destroy but to build. The evidence we present today is difficult, painful, but necessary, because the first step toward being better is acknowledging how we failed. She gestured to the screens. Let's begin. The presentation took 3 hours. Hana and her allies went through every eliminated species, every stolen technology, every pattern of exploitation. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable. The council sat in silence as their history was laid bare. When it ended, no one spoke. The weight of what they had just seen pressed down on everyone. 50,000 aliens all confronting the truth about their civilization for the first time. Finally, Rin rose. Her light was dim, flickering. I am ashamed, she said. Her voice carried through the silent arena. I have lived for 347 years. I have served on this council for more than half that time. And I never questioned, I never looked. I accepted the comfortable lie instead of seeking the uncomfortable truth. She turned to face her fellow council members. We are not the enlightened beings we claim to be. We are predators dressed in the clothing of civilization. We find young species. We judge them by standards we ourselves do not meet. We eliminate them, and we profit from their deaths. Her light grew brighter. But we can be better. We must be better. The human is right. It is time to rebuild this council from its foundation. Other delegates began standing. Not all of them. Not even most. But enough. Young delegates who wanted change. Older ones who had always had doubts. Representatives from species who had suffered under the current system. Vexal remained seated. His purple skin had gone pale. He looked older than he had at the beginning of Hana's trial. Tired. Defeated. What do you propose? He asked quietly. Hana stepped forward. A reformation committee. Representatives from every species willing to participate. Our mandate would be simple. Redesign the trial of species from its foundation. Create a system of mentorship instead of judgment. Build a council that helps young civilizations instead of eliminating them. And who would lead this committee? Vexal asked. I propose Ambassador Rin and Lieutenant Commander Hana, said a voice from the crowd. It was Jay, the young Krenth officer. One representative from the established council. One from the newest member species. Working together, learning from each other. Other voices joined his. I support this proposal. As do I. The Talgorian Federation agrees. The support spread through the arena like ripples in water. Vexal looked around at his fellow council members. Many were nodding. Others looked uncertain, but none were openly opposing the idea. Very well, he said. I call for a vote. All in favor of forming a reformation committee led by Ambassador Rin and Lieutenant Commander Hana. Signal now. Blue lights filled the arena. Not all 50,000, but far more than had voted for humanity's inclusion. The evidence Hana presented had changed minds, opened eyes, created momentum for change. When the vote was counted, it wasn't even close. 42,000 in favor. Only 8,000 against. The motion passes, Vexal said. The Reformation Committee is hereby established. He looked at Hana. May we all survive what comes next. 1 year later, the Grand Colosseum held another gathering. But this time there was no trial. No judgment. Instead, 23 monuments stood in a circle around the arena floor. One for each civilization the council had eliminated. Hana stood before the first monument. It was tall, made of black stone with names carved into its surface. Thousands of names, members of the Korseth species eliminated 4,000 years ago. At the base of the monument, a garden grew. Plants from the Korseth homeworld, cultivated from preserved seeds. Around her, delegates from every council species gathered, not for judgment, For remembrance, a young human approached her. His name was Kyung. He was from Earth's Pacific sector, sent to replace Hana as the primary human representative. She had trained him for months, preparing him for the role. "Are you nervous?" Hana asked him. Kyung laughed. "Terrified. You set a very high standard." "How am I supposed to follow that?" "By being yourself," Hana said. "By staying honest. By asking difficult questions. By never letting comfort replace conscience. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to be real." Rin floated over to join them. "The new council charter has been ratified. Every species has signed. The trial of species is officially ended. Young civilizations will now receive mentorship and support instead of judgment." "What about resistance?" Kyung asked. "There must be species who still oppose the changes." "There are," Rin admitted. "There always will be. But they are outnumbered now. And that is how real change happens. Not by eliminating opposition, but by building something so compelling that opposition becomes irrelevant." Jay approached, along with Do-hee and several other young delegates who had helped with the Reformation. They had become friends over the past year, allies from species that had been enemies for millennia. "The ceremony is about to begin," Jay said. "They want you to give the speech, Hana." Hana nodded. She walked to the center of the arena, to the spot where she had once stood alone, facing 50,000 voices calling for her death. Now those same voices waited to hear what she would say. She took a breath and began. "I didn't save humanity alone. Every person here played a part. Those who voted for our inclusion despite their doubts. Those who helped investigate the Council's past, despite the risks. Those who chose hope over fear, growth over stagnation, justice over comfort." She gestured to the monuments. "We cannot undo the past. These civilizations are gone. That tragedy will echo through eternity. But we can honor them by being better. By building a future where no species needs to stand alone in an arena, facing elimination for being different." Her voice grew stronger. "When I first came here, 50,000 of you shouted for my death. I asked which humans you meant. I pointed at all of you, and forced you to see us as individuals instead of a faceless threat. But I also pointed at something else. I pointed at your own reflections, your own histories, your own capacity for both good and evil. And you looked. You saw, you chose to change. That's the bravest thing any of us can do. Not fighting, not fleeing, but standing still and admitting we were wrong. Then choosing to be better." She paused, looking around at thousands of faces from thousands of worlds. "Humanity taught you that we adapt, that we survive, that we refuse to accept impossible situations. But you taught us something too. You taught us that sometimes the bravest thing isn't to fight or flee. Sometimes it's to stand together and admit we failed, to choose accountability over denial, to build something new rather than defending something broken. This arena used to be a place of judgment and death. Now it's a memorial, a reminder, not just of those we lost, but of what we can become when we choose cooperation over competition, growth over comfort, truth over convenience." She smiled, not the cold smile she wore during the trial. "A real one. I'm not afraid anymore. And I don't think you are either. We're all just trying to survive in a vast, dark universe. So let's survive together. Let's build together. Let's be better together." The arena filled with sound. Not shouts for death this time. Something that sounded like hope. Like possibility. Like the first notes of a song that would echo across the galaxy for generations. Hana stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by friends who had been enemies, in a place that had been built for execution, but was now dedicated to memory and growth. And she understood something profound. When 50,000 aliens shouted, "Kill the human," she asked which ones and pointed at all. But she wasn't pointing at them to mark them for death. She was pointing to remind them they were alive, that they had choices, that they could be better. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a threat of violence. It's a mirror, a reflection that forces you to see yourself clearly, to acknowledge what you've done, to choose what you'll do next. Hana had held up that mirror. The council had looked, and for the first time in thousands of years they chose to change. It wasn't a perfect change. There was still resistance, still problems, still work to do, but it was a beginning. And sometimes a beginning is enough. Rin floated beside her as the ceremony concluded. "What will you do now?" the old alien asked. "Keep working," Hana said. "Keep pushing. Keep asking difficult questions. The Reformation is just starting. There's so much left to do. Yes, Rin agreed. But today we remember. We honor, we acknowledge. Tomorrow we continue building. But today we stand together. Hana looked at the monuments, at the gardens growing at their bases, at the delegates from 50,000 worlds all gathered not for judgment but for healing. She had come to this arena expecting to die. Instead, she had helped birth something new. Not perfect, not complete, but alive, growing, changing, and that she thought was enough. The ceremony ended. The delegates began filing out. But Hana stayed for a moment longer, standing in the center of the arena where she had once faced death and instead found hope. Kyung approached her one more time. Do you have any final advice? Before you step down? Hana thought for a moment. Then she smiled. When they point at you and shout for your death, don't just defend yourself. Make them look at themselves. Make them question everything they thought they knew. Make them choose who they want to be. And if they choose badly, Kyung asked, then you keep asking questions until they get tired of being wrong, Hana said. Humans are good at that. We're persistent, annoying, we don't give up. Use that. She started walking toward the exit, then paused. Oh, and Kyung, don't forget the beacon trick. It didn't actually exist, but they